Now, former DNC chair and current health insurance lobbyist Howard Dean is really sick of progressives and their goddamn purity tests. Now, he recently appeared on an episode of AM Joy to do what I can only describe as trying to further alienate the progressive wing of the Democratic Party and also make sure the Democrats never win an election again. Now, this, of course, comes in response to some very valid vetting of possible 2020 candidate Kamala Harris, who has appeared as the choice of the establishment donors to run against Trump in 2020. Now, Harris, she has a few problems, okay? For one, she doesn't have a giant record. There's no real huge record of accomplishments to look at. She doesn't necessarily poll greatly in matchups against Donald Trump. She's had some questionable donations from Stephen Mnuchin and refused to go after Mnuchin's bank, One West, when they were found doing fraud. So there are some very big issues. Now, however, she has been very critical of Donald Trump and has come out seemingly in favor of some progressive ideas like Medicare for all. So that's to be completely fair. Now, some of us on the left, myself included, since we don't really know Kamala Harris all that well, and from what we've seen, it seems like, I don't know about this. She doesn't really have a huge history of supporting progressive policies, and basically anything. And what we have seen is less than discouraging. Well, we have not developed a trust. And there seems to be a very big trust problem on the left when it comes to Democratic donors, okay? Or I'm sorry, Democratic candidates. Now, as far as the donors are concerned, we've been seeing a lot of them throw their weight behind Kamala Harris. Again, that's not a huge good sign. We're very skeptical of Kamala Harris. And now that we've expressed that skepticism, Howard Dean, he's going to be like, well, I'm not very happy about this. And he's going to say this.
There has always been a section of the left, which I call as the whiny party, the party that doesn't really want to win. They just want to be pure. And if they go down swinging purely, then that's fine. Well, the problem with that is it leaves behind the people who really need their help. If we're going to have a single payer or Medicare for all or whatever we're going to have in health care that covers every American, as every other industrialized country has, then we all have to pull together.
All right. Hey, you know what? We'll pull together on that issue. Wonderful. So let's see more of you get on board. But we want more than just platitudes. We actually want people who have a history of fighting for this. And look, maybe that's unfair to say, well, you have to have a history of fighting for that for us to even consider you. But at least you should be fighting for it now and actually doing more than just talking about it, because we've seen talk before. And what's that old saying? Talk is cheap. Okay. Now, anyway, again, this is my skepticism showing out. Now, let's get to the substance of what he said. Oh, there's a section of the left. They're just whining. They don't actually want to win. No. Actually, we do want to win. you know how you win? You back the most popular politician in America. Now, that happens to be right now Bernie Sanders. Now, that could, of course, change. Now, if Kamala Harris suddenly became super popular with the American people and pulled, 60, 70%, 65, 62% with all Americans, okay, then it would be a no-brainer to back Kamala Harris. Or if Cory Booker suddenly became super popular, or if Joe Biden's already super popular. He's actually the second most popular politician on the Democratic side in America. So, okay, again, no-brainer. But speaking of Kamala Harris, well, she's not the most popular person in America. In fact, a lot of people don't even know her. So, look, that could be a credit on her side. Maybe when she gets her name out there and people start to realize who she is, then maybe that popularity will pick up, or maybe not. But as far as how she polls against Trump now, well, she polls ahead by 1 percentage point on Trump. And again, that could change. And Bernie Sanders, his poll numbers against Trump have not changed. Since 2016, he's led Trump by double digits. Now, another new poll, I think it was might have been a Fox poll or a new ABC News Washington Post poll, had him and Joe Biden crushing Trump by double digits. So if you want to win, as Howard Dean says he wants to win, well, wouldn't it make sense to go with the politician that is most likely to win, that polls reliably against the opponent that you're trying to take out? You think that would make sense, right? Look, and that itself, that's not being whiny. That's actually being smart. But see, the problem with this is that this goes to the smugness of the establishment. They still think that they know better than their own voters, than their own base. They still think that they can put up somebody, a person of color or a woman, and then shame people into voting for them, even if they don't agree with that person's positions. Again, this isn't about what kind of face you put up there. Look at Bernie Sanders. He's like a frumpy 5-year-old. It's not about the face. It's about the policies, and it's about the record. They haven't learned this, and they think, well, we're just going to put up a young woman of color, and then everybody will flock. Or, more cynically, if you want to look at it, they put up this person of color who is more establishment, who is donor-friendly. They put this person up so they can deflect criticism of that person's record by going to the tried and true methods of, well, if you don't like this candidate, it's not because you have an actual problem with the policy. No, it's because you're sexist and you're racist and you're a Bernie bro. Now, what do you think is more likely in this case? And look, that's the major problem here. And look, also calling progressives who actually want to win, and actually want to win on the issues, and actually have somebody that they can trust, calling them whiny. That's a bit of a problem. Because, like, those things, calling people whiny, sexist, racist Bernie bros for not supporting just any candidate you put up there, well, that's not going to bring people into the party. That's not going to help the party. And it's not really going to get a lot of people to vote for your candidate. You cannot shame people into voting for such candidates that are unpopular. And again, we don't know if Kamala Harris will prove to be unpopular, but right now, I guess I should say, she is not well known enough to be popular or unpopular. But as far as when it comes to the base, who's actually looked into her, she is pretty unpopular. So, but again, she's got to be out to the American people, and the American people need to see whether or not they actually like her and like what she stands for and like her policies and things like that. Now, the thing is that the DNC is not waiting to do this. People like, Joyanne Reed and Howard Dean now, and a lot of other centrist Democrats are now really pushing if you have an issue with Kamala Harris, you are a racist, sexist Bernie bro. Simple as that. When again, all we're doing is expressing skepticism and actually looking at her record. But that's the problem. They've already chosen somebody and they're defending that person to the hilt. They're not actually letting the voters pick. Why? Well, they're worried that maybe the voters might pick somebody that's a little bit more progressive. And that might hurt someone like Howard Dean's, and I'm using his as an example, that might hurt his bottom line, since he is a healthcare industry lobbyist. Just saying. And I know people are very, very sensitive to that. Oh, how dare you say that just because he's an industry lobbyist doesn't mean he's going to vote for progressive positions like Medicare for All. He even talked about Medicare for All. If we want that, we've got to unite. But we actually want to unite behind somebody who doesn't just say the words, but who actually means it. We want our politicians to represent us, not the corporations, and not the special interests. Now, again, when it comes to people who don't want to win, it seems like by ignoring the base, people like Howard Dean, the whiny base, calling them whiny, sexist Bernie bros, well, that's not the way to win. And if they actually do want to win, they're doing a really, really bad job at it. And I've got one more clip here from Howard Dean. He continues.
And people who sit out or crank on some candidate because they did this or that, it wasn't to their purity test, are basically turning their back on the very people they pretend to represent. So I don't have a lot of patience with this wing of the Progressive Party. And this is a lot of this is a media creation. The media sees conflict, it creates this to-do. There are not a lot of people that feel the way that you all described about Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
I think we just have to get a life and pull together and do what's right for the country instead of having these silly fights among ourselves, which I have to say are perpetrated in part by the media.
Unite, goddammit. That's what he's saying. Unite. Just unite already. Stop. Get a life and unite. Man. No. You don't have a lot of patience with progressives. I don't have a lot of patience with people like you. And look, the last I knew, the Democratic Party, you need us. Sorry. It's not the other way around. We don't need you politicians. In fact, we kind of hate you politicians. And most of America also hates politicians. We don't need you. You need us. You need our votes. So you need to start reaching out to us. You want unity? You come to us. You come to the voters. That's all we're saying. And yet somehow we're the whiny ones. Now, again, the whole idea of, shaming people for, or shaming people into voting for people that they don't believe in, they don't know, and they don't trust to represent us, that's a losing idea. And they're going to continue to lose. Look, the American people, poll after poll, it's shown that they're tired of neoliberalism. They're tired of the establishment, and they're tired of the corruption. And yet, if you actually want to win, then you go with candidates who are not going to represent those things. Now, if that is putting up a purity test, well, then I guess the majority of the American people are all guilty as charged. Hey, everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.